ushered ourselves into your homes already. So you better grab a seat, like I have, and let's have a conversation. My name is Edem Knight-Tay, and this is 40 Weeks and More. The Bible says in Hosea 4:6 that for lack of knowledge, my people perish. Indeed, knowledge is power. Power to live your most fulfilling lives, even in the face of extreme difficulty. She is HIV positive. She has been married for 20 years. Her husband is still HIV negative. She has children who are all HIV negative. Charity and her husband acquired knowledge and they are living their best lives. She will share her story. Remember also that 40 Weeks and More has been positioned as our contribution to SDG 3 that seeks to reduce the global maternal mortality rate to 70 in every 100,000 births by 2030. Welcome to 40 Weeks and More. On today's episode of 40 Weeks and More, we have yet another very interesting conversation coming up for you: HIV and pregnancy. Please meet my guest.
Hello, my name is Charity, and today on 40 Weeks and More, I will tell my story about HIV and pregnancy. Do join us and watch us.
Today on 40 Weeks and More, we're talking about HIV and pregnancy. My name is Dr. Sefogah, consultant obstetrician gynecologist, Shape Healthcare Specialist Medical Center, and a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Medical School.
Dr. Sefogah, it's always a delight to see you.
Same here.
Thank you very much for your commitment. We appreciate you so much.
My pleasure.
Auntie Charity, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm so much blessed.
You look pretty.
Thank you.
Great. I will ask you a very direct question.
Okay.
How did you acquire HIV?
Thank you very much, and then thank you to all your sponsors and that of everyone who is watching us this afternoon or this morning, depending on where you are seeing us or watching us. I acquired HIV from my late partner, who happens to be HIV, whilst I wasn't aware or I didn't know of his status. That was the year 2022. At that time, there was no ARVs or there was no treatment to HIV. And he always falling sick. And that's one day I told him that the way you've been falling sick is like, if someone sees you, they may think that you are, those they will call it AIDS. They may think you have AIDS. And he quickly replied me and said, if he had AIDS, then I also have AIDS. Wow. But looking at him and the thinking or the perception everybody has was, if you are married or you have a faithful partner or you have a partner, then you will not acquire HIV. So when he gave me that answer, I wasn't so much, I didn't pay much attention to it. Until one day suddenly he felt seriously sick. And he was that type that when he's sick, he will never visit the hospital. But that day he agreed to go to the hospital. So I drove him to Ridge Hospital. The moment we got there, he was admitted. 2 weeks later, he passed away. So I wasn't aware that he was HIV positive until he passed away. And 2 weeks after, those days, Ridge, when somebody died, we have to carry the body to, what do you call it, Kolebu. So I really wanted to know what happened. And I quite remember when we were moving from Ridge to Kolebu, we were having his folder in our car with the uncle. And so I tried picking the folder to go through because I really wanted to know. The moment
This was when you were transporting the body?
No, we have then transported, but they've done the autopsy and they've not gotten the actual thing.
Okay.
And before he passed away, they did HIV tests on him, so which I wasn't even aware
of.
Yes, so I think they asked him to, the Kolebu asked the uncle to go and bring either the folder or, yes, the folder. So on our way, when we got the folder back to Kolebu, I picked the folder. It was by my side in the car. So as soon as I picked it, let me say my father-in-law, because he was uncle, he quickly took
from me.
Oh, so I couldn't have the opportunity. And they took, we took the file, and I think they couldn't get exact. At that time, the lab, the reports they did from the HIV reports wasn't ready. So later they asked the auntie also to go back to Rage to get the lab report, which I was going with her, and the auntie started counseling me, talking to me about, you know, like he was trying to
They were trying to conscientize you.
No. Like they feel so much sorry or pity for me that their nephew is positive, and that time I in fact I have then contracted it once I wasn't aware, and so he was trying to build my hope, like putting my hope together.
But had they informed you at that time?
No.
Yeah, I think that's why I said they were trying to, you know,
gradually.
So that when they hit you with the news then you will still.
But they didn't.
They still didn't tell you?
No, at all. At all. We went through all the process. We went to bury him. They left me alone with my 3 children. I went to stay with my parents. We moved from Accra to settle in our new place. And so let me come back. On our way to Kolebu with the auntie, as he was building my hope or putting my hope together, he said, I asked, so auntie, what exactly killed my husband? And he said, oh, they really didn't see anything, but they've asked me to go for the HIV report at Rich. Then I said, HIV? And initially, when somebody is, the way they put our mind, like if you have a faithful partner, you can't. So my mind was like, knowing Victor, no, it's not. It's not. It
was ABC, right? Abstain, be faithful. And the C is which one?
Using condom.
Condom use.
And so we actually, I was like a bit surprised. I was not hit by it, but like I really trust him that it's not possible. So we did everything. We buried him. I went back to my parents' house with my 3 children. Then I started falling ill.
You started falling sick?
Yes. It wasn't easy. Where the diarrhea and the stress and everything came in, coughing, and I think it was TB at that time.
That's what you thought?
Yeah, no, I wasn't even aware. I'm telling you how I decided to know.
I see.
So it was when I started falling sick, and I remembered what the auntie told me, that we have to go for the HIV reports at Rage. So I was there one day. I said, no, let me go back to the hospital to find out exactly what happened. I went there, and then the nurse in charge of medical ward actually told me, your husband died from HIV. I did not believe until she went for his folder, opened it, and just removed the HIV report to me, shown it to me. I read it, and then it was positive. She has to take me through the counseling, because he was someone that I really, really trusted, and I wasn't expecting my thoughts coming to pass just like that. So she took me through counseling, and she tested me, and I tested positive. When I tested positive, I wasn't just ready to accept my status. I was still in doubt that it's not possible. So although I've tested positive, I went into hiding. I quelled into my shells. I don't even want to see my children at that time.
Tell me what was going through your head psychologically. What did you go through? How were you feeling really? Can you describe it?
The first thing that came to my mind was death.
Oh.
I'm going to die. And so when I came home, I did not want to see anybody. I did not want to have anything to do, not even with my mother or even my children. Like, I've really quelled into my shell, not ready to hear anything from anybody. I was annoyed.
I will come,
to
okay,
my side.
for us to talk about, you know, how you recovered and all, but I have these questions, like they are very questions that are gnawing at me. I want to ask you. Why do you think that he never disclosed his status to you?
Because I may blame him, or I will blame him. That is what happens. The moment one tested positive to HIV, the other partner tries to blame the one who first gets to know the status.
And with the benefit of hindsight, you're sure you would have done that,
yes,
right?
I would.
Great.
Knowing myself, I would.
Question number 2. Why was the family trying so hard for you not to know?
Well, though they did not, but I think maybe they would have called me later. Though they waited for almost 3 months, they didn't. But I'm not okay, let me say they tried to hide it from me, but I don't know why. Maybe they were protecting their family name because his grandfather was a chief at Fanti Nyankumasi. Which I won't mention them.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, Doc, that for me is really very crude. When they realized that their son, you know, their family member died of HIV, and obviously they know that this is a condition that can kill, and this is his wife, so she may have contracted it too from him, and they were still trying to conceal it from him. You kept saying something. You trusted him. You knew that he was faithful. You just couldn't bring yourself to believe that he would, you know, have an affair behind you and all that. But why were you thinking that it was just through, sex or infidelity that he could have contracted the disease?
I first mentioned about the media, and I also not blame the media too much because that was what researchers has found out, and what the nation is feeding them is what they also pick. So the only thing the media was giving to the general public was the skeleton, the bad symptoms, becoming skeleton in bed, becoming bedridden. Initially, that was the pictures we were seeing.
That one there is true.
Yes. So I was like, that is how I think I will say it. We were not showing any better pictures to promote the other side.
Things that could be causing
yes.
it, apart from sex and
sex
infidelity, maybe.
And, yeah, not knowing that blood transfusion could bring HIV.
Yes.
Even positive mother can transmit the virus to the baby.
Yes.
And through even sharp objects.
Exactly.
All those ones were hidden.
They came out later.
Yes, and they were showing or educating people by the sexual aspects of contracting HIV. Yes.
So you're not wrong to have been feeding on that. I'm sure you still have questions on your mind that if you met him somewhere, you would ask him.
Sure.
But your children, any of them tested positive too?
No.
Okay.
All the 3 children I had with me were negative.
Are negative. How old was the youngest when he passed?
He was just 2 years.
He was just 2. So that was pretty close.
Yes.
It could have been anything.
Yes.
You know. Okay. Now let's come back to you. So we've moved on. Eventually, he passed on from HIV. Doc, does it seem like he had developed AIDS? Yeah. It seems like
an advanced stage, you know, and we're unable to tell for how long he has had it. Definitely, he had put up some good immune function until the last end, because listening to her, she was very ill for just 2 weeks and she passed. Then things became really blown, a full-blown AIDS, and then he passed. So the point she said about when she received the news of her own diagnosis, all that was on her mind was death, you know, and that is so real, especially if there isn't adequate counseling before the testing.
And this was just a nurse who counseled her and broke the news to her. And she left you to go home.
Yeah, she left me to go home. Though she asked me to come back, but I refused. That was why I said I quelled into my shell. So I wasn't even ready to go and see the nurse again.
Yeah.
In fact, for me to revive, it was the nurse who revived me.
Yeah.
I quelled into my shell that I don't want to talk about it. I don't even want to hear any adverts on radio or television. When I see HIV adverts on TV, I'll just turn off the TV. When I heard the radio, those days your other partners were having Saturday morning, they have some program. I've forgotten the program, but it's solely for HIV.
You don't want to listen to it?
I don't want to. I just put off the radio. My mother, why have you put off the radio? I said, I want to sleep small.
Did you tell your mother?
Later.
How about your children?
Later.
Later, like how long after?
When I decided to become HIV ambassador. But for my mother, I told him earlier.
That was after how many years?
That was after, let's say, 9 years.
9 years? It took you about 9 years to heal from the emotions and everything.
To tell them.
Okay, let's talk about your healing. Because now, I remember you saying that we have to come to the beautiful parts, which we are also very excited about. Okay. You've gone on to, you know, date, marry, have 3 more children.
3 more children.
Wow. Who are all HIV negative. So let's talk about your journey from when you healed till when you thought that it was okay to start seeing somebody again. Okay.
So this same nurse one day saw me at Circle. I was almost at the A stage, grown limb.
Because you were not going for treatment, nothing.
There was no even treatment. In 2002, there was no treatment.
Yeah, about 20 years ago.
So in fact, this year we are celebrating ART at 20 anyway. Just by the way. And she saw me at Circle, and she's a fancy, and she sorted me very well in fancy. So she said, Awala Ejima, didn't I told you to come after the funeral and after knowing your status? What's happened? And I was just like, do you want to die in fancy anyway? Do you want to die? I said, you come back. I said, you, knowing very well that I won't go. And I was also not having money. It's like poverty has then set in. So I have no support. I've not told my mother about it. So if I want to go to the hospital or any something for somewhere for treatment, I will not get the support, the financial support.
So then you just resigned yourself to death?
Yes. So she saw me and she put me those questions. And I was saying like, this woman, she don't know. And she turned her back, I also turned my back and said, stop. Do you have money to come to the hospital? I said, no. And then she took out those days, 10 cedis was like 100 cedis today. So she took out 10 cedis and then gave it to me. And in so doing, I have to, go
to the
yes,
hospital.
to the hospital. Then she continued her counseling, and she showed me a support group for people living with HIV. One was at Kolebu, and the rest are scattered. So she gave me option, and the Kolebu one, looking from where I lived and then coming to Kolebu.
What's the distance? Huh?
No, it's not a distance. I was thinking of who will see me at Kolebu.
Oh.
So then I have to choose the
other side.
The other side. So I have the option to choose between Koforidua and Accra, which I chose Koforidua.
Where were you living?
Kaswa. And it's still happening.
Wow.
It's still happening. I have a client.
So you'd rather go for treatment
Yes, at
Koforidua?
Koforidua. Yes. And still people are this thing is still happening because of HIV stigmatization.
Yeah.
I have a client from at Obuasi. She travels all the way from Obuasi to Kaswa to seek medication.
Hey.
You bow down.
So tell me, I wish that we had, all the time in the world to listen to every single step of it. So at what point in time did you heal and start opening up yourself for a relationship that has led to 3
children? That was through the support group.
Okay.
And in the support group, we are encouraged. They build our capacity. They tell us who we are, and we should not degrade ourselves and put ourselves together. That is not the end, and all that. In fact, we learn a lot. We associate a lot, and from there we were only depending on helps. So after the talking and sharing of experience, the jokes and what we have been going through, I've not been able to tell my status to my family. Some other partners, people too, have not told their status, and those who are also facing stigma because their status are known over there and all that. Then we chat, and then we take our herbs. And those days there was food support or food rations, so we take them and then we go back home.
So did you meet your partner in the support group?
That was where I was encouraged that that is me. If I may be even better than other people. So
hold on, Charity. Hold on. My emotions are, they're fluctuating. They go up, they come down, they go up, they come down. But I like where it is going because it's going to end well. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. I know you didn't move because you're waiting to hear the continuation of the conversation. Well, we are back here. And let me use this opportunity to once again say a very big thank you to our sponsors, Ernest Chemist Limited, to Shape Healthcare Specialist Medical Center, to Labadi Beach Hotel for sponsoring 40 weeks and more. Charity. So let's talk about where we are now. We've told a lot of the sad stories.
With that, I've then gathered a lot of courage, and I decided to move on and even support others.
Wow.
So one day I think I went to visit a friend, and I met this nice, handsome gentleman.
Was it love at first sight? Oh, tell me about it.
And he called me and he asked of my name, and I told him my name. And he took my contact. In the evening he called me, and then
the chase has begun.
I tell you. And then we started talking and all that. At that time he was he was putting up a project for his father at Kaswa. So he has to come, and so he told me he will come. He showed me another day that he will come. And when he came, truly he called and I showed him where I lived. And when he came, he saw me with 3 children. And he asked, are they your children? I said, yes. Wow. So we talked about myself. We talked about ourselves and all that.
You told him about your status?
Yes. No, not
then.
So another time he came and I saw that he came about 3 or 4 times and I saw that where the thing is going, I have to, because I've then decided not to have anybody's blood in my hands. So I told him, he was like, oh, Mom, if you don't want me, this one is not a force. Why are you throwing me away or throwing me out with this in fact,
story?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm not. And it's like, to him, for the first time, this is the time, for the first time that he has met a person
that he
with
wants
HIV.
to be with.
And yes, and then he has, the person is telling him that this is me.
Wow.
So he bent down. I think he thought or he thinks of what I've told him a little and said, no, I have to also know my status. If what you are saying is true, then the 2 of us, we should go. So I called my counselor and then we scheduled a date and then we all came to the hospital at Ridge and then he took the test.
It was negative?
It was negative. I also took the test and it was
still positive.
He just turned his face like this. Thank you. I said, why? He never thought that I'll be so sincere to tell him my status. So he felt like for him to go and marry another woman who may carry something even serious or worse, that he doesn't know, than what I'm carrying. And from what the counselor has explained
to him,
he feels it's better he stays to me.
Wow. Doc, I think this is where we
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
So that was how we started
the relationship.
And through that process, we got married. In fact, we had our first son before we blessed the marriage.
Tell me about it.
So after that, after the relationship grew, let's say from strength to strength,
of course,
and he decided that he wants to have a child.
Another one.
But you have to go and see my parents. I said, don't worry, I'll go and see your parents. I don't know whether he was trying to see if the child would be, what we were saying, the nurse was telling him was really true, that
the child will be negative.
If we do 1, 2, 3. So we were protecting with condom. And then we saw the counselor. The counselor gave us to a doctor. And then he also told us what to do, continue. But when we get to, what do you call it? Ovulation. You should remove the condom. And so we did that trick and it worked. And before that, ARVs was still not in the system. So we have to go with,
By ARVs, you mean the antiretrovirals, right?
So we need us to go through what the doctors were teaching us with with the antenatal medications and that of Septrin, because my G6PD was okay. So I could take Septrin as well. So we did that. Just a short time when I conceived, then ARVs came.
Oh.
Then ARVs came. So, though I was pregnant, but they put me on medication. And immediately the baby was born, they also put the baby on medication.
And it was the same for all the 3?
The same for all the 3.
Are you going to have another one?
No. not like. My own director actually walked into the what do you call it, surgery theater, and told the doctors over there, that Dr. Angela, Ella does, say, hey, this woman, she's not giving birth again. Sure?
She doesn't give birth again. Wow, Charity.
So that is it.
I am very happy that, look, it started. I drift, but this is where it has ended, and we're so very happy for you. And your husband, maximum respect to him. That's a really very bold man who is in love with you.
Yeah.
Doc.
Yeah.
So she was saying that at the time there were no antiretrovirals and she had HIV. It means that she wasn't on anything that was going to suppress the virus. So the man really stood a very huge chance of contracting it, right?
Correct.
And so what were they doing right? Is it the condom trick?
Yes. So up until the antiretrovirals came, that was the advice. Condoms, 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 condoms. Because we know the virus is transmitted through exchange of body fluid.
Yes.
Predominantly through sex. Of course, as she mentions, through other means. So when we have a couple that we describe as discordant, one person is,
The other person
so
is
the
not.
only way was to get on the condoms. And then when they are getting ready to have a baby, the woman, we normally would teach them to get to know when she's ovulating. So around that time, you do get intimate without a condom, 1, 2, 3 days. Then you go back to the condoms. And like you said, that's how she got her
worked.
babies. Yes, it worked.
It worked.
You know, because if you didn't do that, one, the other partner, the non-infected partner, stood a huge risk
being
of getting
infected.
infected. Thankfully, now we have ARV. So, you know, we see a little over 70% of persons living with HIV now do know their status.
Great.
There's another great, nearly 30% carrying it, but they don't know, which is why we still encourage people to test. Right? Get counseled and you test. But without a counseling, you go test and it's positive, it can be a huge emotional trauma.
For you. No.
One day in my line of work, I had a needle prick. This was when I was a junior doctor over 20 years ago. And as a protocol, you have to go and take HIV test. And so I didn't go through the protocol to get tested. I mean, to get counseled before the testing. They took my blood, waiting for that result.
It was.
Like she said, I was thinking all the wild things. The little money I've saved, let me go just withdraw, go into some forest. You know, all the wild things. So the counseling is very key. It helps you to take it better.
Great.
Then soon after that, we're able to tell that these are the options.
That you have.
Now we have the antiretrovirals. And for those who know their status, more than 80%, 87% are on ARVs.
Okay.
And that's a good thing. And once you're on it, it has a way of suppressing the virus till the point it gets fully suppressed. We say it is undetectable.
But you can't go off the ARVs.
No, you need to be on it. So we now see it just like any other chronic medical problem.
You're managing.
If you have diabetes or hypertension, you have to take your pills every day to control the blood pressure.
That's
so
true.
if you have HIV, be on the medication consistently to keep it at bay.
Great.
With that, then you stand a lower risk of passing it on to your partner. And that is what also helps us to keep the babies protected.
Now, that's the point of the baby I want us to come to.
Yes, yes.
Prevention of mother-to-child transmission. How
correct.
is that attained?
You know, if you have babies between 0 to 5 years who have HIV, majority of them would have had it through their mother, unfortunately. So preventing this, there are 4 main things we do.
Okay.
We have to make sure the mother is well suppressed by using the medication.
Before she even gets pregnant.
Before she gets pregnant.
So that will be their preconception care.
Right. And then when they're pregnant, thankfully the medications are safe, so consistent use during pregnancy.
Okay.
Okay. Suppress preconception, suppress during pregnancy.
Okay.
During pregnancy, do your regular antenatals and take your medications. Then we would discuss birth or a birthing plan. Okay. Now, if the woman is HIV positive and she has vaginal delivery, compared to if we have a planned cesarean section where she didn't have to go into labor before we do cesarean section, the chances are slightly higher if you went through labor and delivered vaginally compared to C-section.
Sorry, Doc, let me just quickly ask Charity. So did you deliver vaginally or it was through CS?
The first 3 or the 4, I have vaginal delivery.
Okay.
But the last 2, I was diagnosed severe eclampsia, so I have to take the cesarean.
CS. Okay.
And they came, they were like premature babies, but they are doing very well.
They are doing very
did
well. How old are they?
The last one is 7 years,
Okay.
and the one before after her is what do you call it, 9 years. In fact, the one before her is 9 years.
Beautiful. Yes, Doc.
Yeah. So then the birthing plan we will discuss ahead, and this can only be done when you attend your antenatal. So it is all planned. So if you would opt for cesarean section, then we plan it so we do it before you get into labor.
All right.
Typically, that would mean that you also have the resources and ability to not breastfeed, so that we go straight into formula feeding. So that's one of the ways. Known HIV, good medication, good suppression, a planned cesarean section, formula feeding. Okay. Other times, the option is I would have vaginal delivery. So we note that right from the time of pregnancy. So we know that when you are in labor, there are certain things we do not do. For instance, if sometimes in a regular labor, when the woman's labor is not progressing well, one of the common things we do is we break the waters to help to speed up the labor naturally.
Yeah.
Okay. But that would not be applicable for somebody who is HIV positive, because we want to limit the contact of her body fluids as much as possible with the baby. So then it is known that she will have vaginal delivery, but in her labor we would not break her waters artificially.
Even with a very suppressed viral load?
Yes, we want to bring all the precautions on board as much as possible. And we also don't want her, assuming her waters break by itself, we shouldn't allow that labor to slow for more than 4 hours before the baby comes out. So these are all interventions we have in place to prevent mother-to-child transmission. Then, if episiotomy is not necessary, we don't do it. Okay, so these are the things we have in place.
Doc, please, we did say that on this show, we don't want to use a lot of medical jargon.
Yes, that
I
is
understand episiotomy, but what is it? Quickly, just because you used it.
Episiotomy, that is the minor procedure we do just to widen the vaginal outlets to enhance prompt delivery of the baby. Because sometimes that tends to be the barrier. The head is here and it can't come. It can't come. So we widen a little bit, baby comes smoothly. Then we numb the place and then we repair it nicely.
What in our non-medical parlance we say, they cut you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, good. So we minimize the use of that unless it is absolutely necessary. Yeah. After the delivery of the baby, this mother has to commit to breastfeed exclusively for 6 months.
Why?
Because if you breastfeed exclusively, you don't disturb the baby's tummy with what we call mixed feeding. Okay, now you breastfeed today, tomorrow you give a bit of formula, the baby can have diarrhea.
Okay.
And that puts the baby at a high risk of contracting HIV from the breast milk.
Really?
Okay, but as you breastfeed exclusively, granted, there is some chance of that baby getting HIV through the breast milk. There's a low risk, but compare that to all the million benefits, including antibodies, the proteins that the baby gets from the breast milk.
Wow.
And that is able to handle that little risk. And so commit to breastfeed exclusively. And then for 6 months before you bring on your complementary feed. By that time, the baby's intestine has matured a bit. And for the regular non-HIV patient, we say even after the 6 weeks, continue breastfeeding for up to 24 months. But for the HIV mother, continue breastfeeding for up to 12 months. Right? So these are the key interventions that have worked for us in achieving that prevention of mother-to-child transmission.
Breast milk is very powerful.
It is extremely powerful. It makes the children very intelligent. It makes them strong. It makes them bond well. Psychologically, they do better. It minimizes the risk of childhood obesity. You know, because
and hair infections as well.
As well. Because the child is suckling the milk, making the effort, and getting the reward. Okay? When the child's tummy is full, he stops suckling. So that baby learns to regulate eating. Unlike formula, pop, 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 then you are full.
And drinking a
Pop,
lot
pop,
of air as
without effort. And so they grow up overeating and getting obese.
I had to mention that breast milk is very powerful so that, you know, the men can allow their wives to breastfeed.
Oh, that's where you were going. Oh, my goodness. Breast milk is very good for the babies. Now, so there is another way we help the couples with a discordant situation where the woman is negative, but the man is HIV positive. That involves some procedures, for instance, where we help the woman to develop her eggs at ovulation, and we would deliberately take the man's semen and process it. There's a way of washing it to make it cleaner, and then we inseminate into the woman. We inject into the woman at the time her eggs are about to release. So in that case, we have further minimized the risk of passing it on through the seminal fluid, the semen.
So you don't really encourage normal coitus?
No, this is another option.
It's another option.
It's another option.
Okay, but a man can equally do that, even if he was positive?
Yes,
okay.
Especially during the time of ovulation.
Okay. Otherwise, you have to use condoms.
You do condoms. When the woman is ovulating, you do unprotected sex.
Okay.
After that few days, you go back to condom. Or we wash the sperm and inseminate into the woman.
Doc, let me quickly ask a follow-up question. So now that we have antiretrovirals, that we've talked about the fact that the virus could be suppressed to the point where it is non-detectable. It is
undetectable,
right? You know, discordant couples still encouraged to use condoms?
Yes, it's another layer of protection, isn't it? You can never have too much of protection. Yes.
So if you're not planning to have babies, then forever you're advised to continue condom use and still remain on your antiretrovirals.
Yes. One of the options has even been to put the men on medication. I mean, to put the other partner on medication.
As well.
Yeah, we call it pre-exposure prophylaxis. You're going to say I'm saying big English.
Yeah, so
but you can say that after me.
Doc, please.
Okay. Pre-exposure prophylaxis. There you go. So it's not big English anymore.
Well, no, it's not big English, it's the explanation.
Thank you. And so the the HIV negative partner is put on medication for prophylaxis, for protection.
Okay.
The highest level is when we do in vitro fertilization for similar reasons. We take the sperm, take the woman's egg out, and then fertilize it, and then put the fertilized egg into the woman's uterus to have her baby. So these are the various layers to get a pregnancy, for the labor, the delivery, and for feeding the baby.
Indeed, for lack of knowledge, we perish.
That is true.
I have been so educated, you know. You read around, you hear a lot of things, but you still have a lot of myths, you know, in your head, and you're thinking, how is this possible? But here is Charity, gone from bad to worse to good to better, and enjoying her best life with her 6 children and a sweet husband. Charity, congratulations to you again. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for you. We have just about a minute to wrap up. In just 30 seconds, your final words.
Well, I would say, since we are talking about PMTCT, I want to encourage, especially the men, that it's possible. So they should not throw us out, and especially when their wives comes home and disclose to them. Normally that has been the problem. The moment you tell the men, they quickly throw you out. Please, we beg them. It's possible.
It is possible. And Doc, from you finally.
Yes, so my little concern has been the bit of stigma, because in the main, mainstream hospitals. You know, you have to go to the hospital and go to the HIV unit or the fevers unit, so he's designated. And that has been a great source of barrier. So we're saying that a good number of private setups also offer antiretroviral medications.
Okay.
So if the stigma is a big deal, come up to us in the private sector to assess your care. We are much more interested in you getting medication and having a good viral suppression to be healthy.
SHAPE does that, right?
SHAPE does that, yeah.
Okay, great. So this has been our conversation on HIV and pregnancy. It's been one very educative and an informative one. Thank you all very much for sitting and doing the viewing. Really very grateful to Ernest Chemist, to SHAPE Healthcare Specialist Medical Center, to Labadi Beach Hotel, and also to Decozone, to our Luri for my clothes, to the Better Merchandise for all you will need to welcome your baby and more, and also to Lunch Avenue for feeding us. Thank you very much. See you again next week. My name is Edem Knight-Tay. Bye.